welcome to everyone. As you can see, they're just getting started at City Hall. We're joining online just a few minutes early. We're so thrilled that you're able to join online, even for those who weren't able to make it in person in Toronto this year. My name is Rachel Small, and it's an honor to be supporting with the live stream of this important ceremony that, of course, is taking place live in front of you in the Peace Garden. They're just about to get started.
The commemoration of the 78th anniversary of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. My name is Rosemary Keenan. I'm the co-chair of the HNDC, along with Dr. Vinay Jindal, and I'm pleased to be your host this evening. I would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. Toronto is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaties, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. We are grateful to be able to meet together on this land. I would now like to invite Dr. Barbara Burkett, longtime member of HNDC and also of the International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War, to come and introduce flutist Ron Korb. Barbara.
For many of you here, Ron Korb needs no introduction, as he has superbly provided us with music on his flute for quite a number of our commemoration ceremonies over the years. He has recently performed on 2 Grammy-winning albums, including one for Best Global Album by a Japanese artist, Masas Takumi. This is the first time an album from Japan has won in this category. Ron studied flute in Toronto and Japan, and has also traveled widely to discover and play many indigenous woodwind instruments. He has produced many albums and won numerous awards. He's performed for Queen Elizabeth and the Dalai Lama's World Festival of Sacred Music, amongst other achievements. Welcome back, Ron, to you and the sounds of your flutes as you help set the tone again for this our 70-year commemoration.
What? Oh, really? Won't that be too loud?
No.
Okay.
Testing. Okay. Hello, everyone. I was just given this mic by Gaia to clip on here.
Thank you.
I hope it doesn't, you're sure it's not going to be too loud? Anyway, welcome, everyone. This is the first time that we've been back since COVID. Let's say. So nice to see all of you in person again. And let me just unzip my bag here. Okay, I will start with this. It's really hard to play the flute in the wind, but I'm going to try. This is actually a native flute. We just it's nice just to set the tone. And it's a little piece called Love Song. Thank you. Thank you. Now I'd like to play a piece called The Noble Land, and I think all you people here today are very noble people. And it's a piece I wrote years ago from my album Celtic Heartland, but I think it just expresses the humanity of people. That's really what this song is about. the next one is a little hot, so bring it down a bit. Yeah, the background's a bit hot. Thank you very much. Wow, it's so nice to be back here in the Peace Garden, isn't it? You know, we've, like I said, it's been, the, the COVID time was just seemed like forever. And I just can't believe that we're actually here again after doing the virtual things, which is good too, because I like just being in my living room and playing, and then afterwards, you know, you're just at home. This next piece is called Bailar Conmigo, and it means dance with me. So that's what happens when the wind blows in your face, just as you're about to play the note. You just don't get anything. That's the way. I blow the wind this way, and it's pushing this way. Okay. So guys, is it really okay? The sound? You sure? Because you're, yeah? Okay. I mean this mic here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technology.
Okay. So actually both of those tunes I don't think I've ever played actually for you guys, but this next piece is a piece that I have played before. In fact, it's actually on your trailer for the HNDC, and this is a piece called Blue Bamboo. And special hand to the sound man. Great.
Thank you. Well,
So, last piece I'm going to play is a piece called Harvest Jig. And I feel like even though, of course, the topic that we're discussing is very important and very heavy, but this still is a time of celebration, just the fact that we're all here today. And so I wanted to play a piece that you can kind of clap along to, and it's called Harvest Jig. Hey, everyone. Woo! you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Ron, for your always inspirational music and bringing us all together in harmony.
Yeah.
HNDC, the Hiroshima Nagasaki Day Coalition,
Great
members
job.
have worked with renewed commitment this year to bring the message of nuclear disarmament to all Canadians and to prepare this evening's commemoration. We are particularly grateful for the secondary school students who worked with us throughout the year, bringing their technical expertise, insights, creativity, and communication skills to the preparation and promotion of tonight's commemoration. Our committee has lost. That's for you. Okay. Thank you. Our committee has lost two dedicated members in the past year. Michael Nevin, HNDC Secretary and Treasurer, passed away on November 20th, 2022. Sid Ikeda, longtime president of the Japanese Canadian Cultural Centre, passed away on July 8th, 2023. Mike and Sid are in our thoughts this evening. We are grateful for their lifelong commitment and to HNDC and to the abolition of nuclear weapons. Without government or corporate support, corporate sponsorship, we rely on our donors. As a community group, we do not give charitable tax receipts. That means that every dollar that is donated is hard-earned money. Every dollar carries with it a belief in our efforts and a hope for a nuclear weapons-free future. Every dollar is valued and appreciated. I would like to thank our member organizations, the International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War, Canada, the Japanese Canadian Cultural Centre, the Toronto Area Interfaith Council, Pax Christi, Toronto, Science for Peace, Canadian Voice of Women for Peace, Taoan Healing Centre, Toronto Association for Peace and Solidarity, Toronto Article 9, and Toronto Buddhist Church. I would also like to thank our sponsors and supporters, National Association of Japanese Canadians, Greater Toronto NAJC, Pegasus Institute, Canadian Pugwash Group, World Beyond War, Conscience Canada, Ontario Clean Air Alliance, and Peace Quest. Our event is endorsed by Canadian Foreign Policy Institute and Canadian Network for the Abolition of Nuclear Weapons. Thank you as well to all the individuals who donate what they can to ensure Toronto has a commemoration ceremony every year. And thank you to Rachel and Gaia from World Beyond War, who are facilitating the live streaming of tonight's commemoration. The Hiroshima Nagasaki Day Coalition is an opportunity for local peace and community groups to come together, share ideas, and give a grassroots voice to Toronto's peace community. A voice among all the wonderful voices that strive to make Toronto a better place and to make the world a better place. As we reflect on the horrors of the atomic bombings and the devastation of nuclear weapons testing, we are faced with the reality that all life on Earth hangs in the balance until we abolish nuclear weapons. While the risk of nuclear war is the highest it has been in decades, the global movement against nuclear weapons is strong. States, cities, parliamentarians, civil society, Survivors and people everywhere are making their voices heard. Nuclear weapons must be eliminated. I welcome you to this 78th anniversary commemoration of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki nuclear bombings, 90 seconds to midnight, nuclear weapons and climate change. I would now like to invite Reverend Earl Smith to introduce this evening's faith leaders. Reverend Earl Smith serves on the Toronto Area Interfaith Council as a board member and a representative of the Church of Scientology, Toronto. He has been serving on the Hiroshima Nagasaki Day Coalition for many years and believes strongly there should be no nuclear weapons at all. Reverend Smith.
Thank you very much, Rosemary. Well, welcome everyone. One of our speakers, ministers who was going to speak, came down with some food poisoning just today, but we're very blessed to have with us our first speaker who will give us a prayer to open up. And this is, I'd like to introduce her. I happen to have her bio, so I'll say a few words about her. And this is Bishop Priscilla Shaw. She's with the Anglican Diocese of Toronto. She is an ordained bishop. She comes from a Métis background and from growing up on a small farm. So she has served as a witness and ambassador for the Anglican Church for Canada's National Truth and Reconciliation Commission. She serves on the Jubilee Commission and was a member of the Primate's Commission on Discovery, Reconciliation, and Justice that produced the award-winning film Doctrine of Discovery, Stolen Lands, Strong Hearts, as part of the Reconciliation Mandate. She is a contributor to the publication Decolonizing Discipline, a call to implement the Truth and Reconciliation call to action number 6. So we're so pleased to have you, Priscilla. Please come up and say a few words. Yeah, well, this is it.
Thank you. Thank you kindly. That was a pretty quick sourcing of a bio, especially as this last minute. So thank you very much. I actually was invited by Canon Phyllis Creighton, and this is, I think, my 3rd or 4th year offering a prayer in this way, but my first time in person. So it's a real privilege to be here, and I thank you very much for listening. To you all gathered here, all my relatives, today we gather with hope for the earth in our hearts and peace in the front of our minds. We give thanks for many things and we pray for many things. Creator, thank you for this day you have given us. Thank you for calling us to gather here. We ask you to enter where we are so that your teachings will work in us. Thank you for the desire you give us to respond with nonviolence, to work for a future with a hope. Thank you for gifting us with conscience, with community, for support, with commitment and perseverance. Thank you for rage, for righteous anger, that we might tap into it to change the world. We ask for a conversion of hearts, that people with influence will come to see the preciousness of life on this fragile earth, our island home. We ask your continued blessing, especially upon Hibakusha's atomic bomb survivors, both the people and also the plants and creatures, all affected by nuclear war and its devastating effects. Give us strength and courage for all the people connected across and around the world to the tragedy that must not ever happen again in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. From Setsuko Thurlow, don't give up. Keep pushing. See the light? Crawl towards it. Our light now is the banned treaty. Tonight, let us follow each other out of the dark night of nuclear terror. No matter what obstacles we face, we will keep moving and keep pushing and keep sharing this light with others. This is our passion and commitment for our one precious world to survive. That's a quote from Setsuko Thurlow. Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are struggling hard and carrying heavy loads." From the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 11, verse 28. So we come with all our weariness and wariness, our weariness with injustice, our weariness with fake news, our weariness with a world that seems determined to be hostile rather than welcoming, our wariness of what it might mean to truly live out our call, our wariness of how vulnerable our desire for openness might make us, our wariness of how safe it is to trust where trust has so often been misplaced. From a call to worship for the weary and the weary, come and find not just rest for your souls, but channels for your rage. I share with you now a prayer with the 7 grandfather teachings from the peoples of the land here on Turtle Island, the indigenous name for this continent. We ask for wisdom so that we will know what is good in this world. We ask for love so we can spread your love everywhere. We ask for respect so that we will know that everyone comes from one place, from you. We ask for bravery so that we will not be afraid to do your work here. We ask for honesty so that no one will lie or harm any one of us. We ask for humility so that no one will be superior to one another. And Lord of life and blessing, we ask for truth so that we will see you in the future on the last day with clean hearts and spirits. Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Bishop Shaw, for that beautiful message and prayers. We really feel that we're starting to get going with this event today. I want to bring up our next speaker, and I'm just going to give a little bit about the gentleman. His name is Zulkifli Samali. He's an individual who's worked tirelessly to overcome prejudices and social injustices, not just through angry words or retribution, but through positive action. He has over 45 years of solid experiences in establishing and managing and working for not-for-profit, interfaith, and other community organizations. So he's been sitting on many boards and commissions and councils. He's served as the governor of Seneca College. He's on the National Council of Welfare for Canada, and many, many others. He's actually, Zul is an honorary chief of police of Toronto. You know that? Anyways, he's currently is the president of the National Alliance for the Advancement of Pluralistic Societies. He's also on the, I'll find your page. He is also president for the Toronto Area Interfaith Council, and is a wonderful community member and advocate. He also is a co-chair for the RSMP Diversity Council, vice president on the Association of Progressive Muslims of Canada, and quite a few others. He's gotten the Queen's Diamond League, Jubilee Medal, and Platinum. So what I like about his curriculum vitae is what he says at the end. says he wishes to work towards a society where the elderly are respected and cared for, where youths are encouraged and supported to achieve their full potential, and where people from all walks of life come along together as a harmonious Canadian society. So please welcome Azul Kasamali. I guess you just hold that. Just keep that with you.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you all for the wonderful introduction. You forgot to tell them that I own a funeral home and I'm looking for candidates. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so privileged to get this opportunity of addressing you today. I am originally from Uganda. I'm a newcomer here. It's been only 50 years now in Canada. And unfortunately, I haven't seen much changes. We talk about discrimination and climate change and whatnot. When I came here to Canada in 72, I had so many high hopes that I'm coming to a country in North America and I will see that intellectuality will play a big role. Coming from an African country, you always think that intellectually the North American countries are very powerful. They are. But unfortunately, I have seen the progress of so many areas which still needs a lot of help. I think after 50 years in Canada, I can say that we, all of us, have a responsibility. And what is the legacy we are going to leave behind? And that is what I would like to see, and I want to work with everybody to make a difference. I have come to this event many times, and I was telling Rosemary that I've made many speeches here. What difference can we make moving forward? And I have humbly requested her that we are going to be coming up with a scholarship program, and as soon as the program is ready, with the help of Rosemary and one of my representatives from Toronto Area Interfaith Council, will work together with the school system to come with an innovative proposal of creating a mock parliament in the school system so the youth can work together and come up with solutions of how can we move forward from now onwards, because they have to understand the bureaucracy, what we have gone through. Can they help us and make a difference? Maybe yes. It's a good shot. Why not to try it? So that is what we are going to try. You see, in my religion, we believe that there are three things which doesn't belong to you. One is money, one is time, and one is knowledge. Money you earn because of His grace. Time, He has given us time. So now the question is, if He has given us the money, how much are we giving back for the future of the next generation? Time. How much time are we all giving? I think most of us are here are giving time because of your contribution, we are here all together. What about knowledge? God has given us knowledge. It's not ours. You acquire through His grace. How much are we giving back? And this is what we have to teach our children and the future generation, that contribute your time, knowledge, and your money, because this is what they will be building on the future generations. You know, I'm going to give one last example. The Aga Khan Development Network, which the community I come from, they grow plants in the trees in every part of the world. Just in Asia, they have so far planted 35 million plants, the trees. And this is one area. In Africa, in Europe, in every part of the world, we are doing this. Why? Because we want to make a difference, because we want to leave a legacy for the future generation. And I think the last example I'm going to give is, in India, there was an 85-year-old man. He was planting mango seeds. For mango to grow, it takes 15 years. So the kids playing there were laughing at him, saying, Baba, you are 85-year-old, your one leg is already in the grave, and you are planting this seed. By the time it grows, you won't be here. And he says, you are so right. But you know, for last 85 years, what I have enjoyed, I want the future generation to enjoy. You all are going to enjoy. Keep up the good work, HNHC. Rosemary, very kind of you to give me this opportunity. You are doing a wonderful job. Vinay has been doing a wonderful job. Keep up the good work, because you know what? Nobody is going to come and tell you that you are doing a good job, but our job is to continue selflessly, regardless of what are the things. Keep up the good work, and God bless you all. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zul. And, you know, we have a few years left, so keep it up. All right. It's my pleasure to take a look at, first of all, the proclamation from the City of Toronto. We're very blessed to have the new mayor continue with the tradition of the Toronto mayors. They've been doing that since the early 80s, the 70s, on a proclamation for Hiroshima and Nagasaki Day. And I'm going to read it out to you, okay? It says, whereas today we commemorate the horrific tragedies that took place on August 6th and August 9th, 1945, when atomic bombs were detonated over the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. The lasting legacy of trauma caused by these events continues to influence our world even today. On this anniversary, we remember the many survivors and pay tribute to the thousands of people who lost their lives. We recognize the utter devastation caused by the bombings while remaining firm in our advocacy for nuclear disarmament. The City of Toronto's Peace Garden, located at Nathan Phillips Square, is a lasting expression of our city's commitment to peace. The garden's reflecting pool, here it is here, contains water from rivers that flow through Nagasaki, and its eternal flame was lit with embers from Hiroshima's Peace Memorial Park, symbolizing connecting Toronto to the two cities that were devastated by the bombings. The city is committed to working with others to make the world a safer and better place for everyone. In 2018, Toronto City Council unanimously called upon the Canadian government to support the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons that would help create a safer, nuclear weapons-free world. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Olivia Chow, on behalf of Toronto City Council, do hereby proclaim August 6, 2023 as Hiroshima and Nagasaki Day in the City of Toronto. All right. Now, traditionally, we've then taking a look at what the mayors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki have said in their proclamations. So we're going to take a bit of a brief look. Nagasaki, of course, we can't do that right now. It's August 9th. We're not there yet, but we did take a look at last year. So we'll read a few things from their proclamation and also from Hiroshima. And I will begin with the Mayor Kazumi Matsui's speech on the declaration of the 78th anniversary of the atomic bombing. Now, he led with a quote from one of the Hibakusha. So I am going to read that first. He said, this is the Hibakusha person, I want the leaders of all countries with nuclear weapons to visit Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and using their own eyes and ears, learn the realities of the atomic bombings. The lives lost in an instant, the bodies charred by heat rays, lives lost in agony from burns and radiation, tended to by no one. I want them standing here to feel the full weight of the countless lives lost. The Hibakusha making this plea was 8 years old when the bomb exploded 78 years ago. He always remembered that day as a living hell. So I'll carry on a little bit with his speech. He says the heads of state who attended the G7 Hiroshima summit in May this year visited the Peace Memorial Museum, spoke with Hibakusha, and wrote messages in the guest book. Their messages provide proof that the Hibakusha pleas have reached them, and they stood there before the cenotaph for the atomic bomb victims. I conveyed the spirit of Hiroshima underlying its inscription, enduring past grief, overcoming hatred. We yearn for genuine world peace with all humanity living in harmony and prosperity. I believe our spirit is now engraved in their hearts. And in this spirit, the first G7 leaders' Hiroshima vision on nuclear disarmament reaffirms their commitment to the ultimate goal of a world without nuclear weapons with undiminished security for all, and declares that their, quote, security policies are based on the understanding that nuclear weapons, for as long as they exist, should serve defensive purposes. However, he says, leaders around the world must confront the reality that nuclear threats now being voiced by certain policymakers reveal the folly of nuclear defense theory. They must immediately take concrete steps to lead us from the dangers present toward our ideal world. In civil society, each of us must embrace the generosity and love for humanity embodied in the Hibakusha message, quote, no one else should ever suffer as we have, unquote. It will be increasingly important for us to urge policymakers to abandon nuclear deterrence in favor of a peaceful world that refuses to compromise individual dignity and security. So, the city of Hiroshima, together with more than 8,200 member cities of Mayors for Peace in 166 countries and regions, that's how far it's grown. It's fantastic. Intends to promote the culture of peace globally through citizen-level exchange. Our goal is an environment in which our united desire for peace can reach the hearts of policymakers, helping to build an international community that maintains peace without relying on military force. We will continue to expand our programs to convey the realities of the atomic bombings to young people around the world so they can acquire the Hibakusha's passion for peace, spread it beyond national borders, and pass it on to future generations. I ask all policymakers to follow in the footsteps of the leaders who attended the G7 Hiroshima summit by visiting Hiroshima and sharing widely their desire for peace. I urge them to immediately cease all nuclear threats and turn toward a security regime based on trust through dialogue in pursuit of civil society ideals. He concludes, I further urge the national government to heed the wishes of the Hibakusha and the peace-loving Japanese people by reconciling the differences between nuclear weapon and non-nuclear weapon states. Japan must immediately join the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons and establish common ground for discussions on nuclear weapons abolition by attending, at least as an observer, the second meeting of state parties to the Treaty for Proliferation of Non-Nuclear Weapons to be held in November this year. So that was the mayor's speech. Again, it was Mayor Kazumi Matsui. And now a little bit from what the mayor from Nagasaki spoke about. Now, this is his last year's speech, but the sentiments are the same. Very much the same. They say the first time that, he says the first time that, this is Mayor Tamisha Tawi. So he said the first time that the World Conference Against Atomic and Hydrogen Bombs, which aims for the abolition of nuclear weapons, was held here in Nagasaki, was the year 1956. So we've been at it for quite a while. 11 years after the atomic bomb that caused the death and injury of 150,000 people. So he says once Jeko Watanabe, one of the Hibakusha, entered the venue, there was an instant shower of camera flashes. This is back in 1956. This was because Mrs. Watanabe was being carried in the arms of her mother when she arrived. She was exposed to atomic bombing at a factory where she had been working as a 16-year-old mobilized student and became paralyzed from the waist down after being crushed under collapsed metal beams. And upon her arrival, voices from the assembly could be heard saying, "Stop photographing her. She's not some kind of showpiece." And the venue fell into a state of commotion. But having reached the speaker's podium, Ms. Watanabe said in a clear voice, "People of the world, please take photographs and then ensure that nobody like me is ever made again." So he says, leaders of the nuclear states, can you hear the cry of her soul in these words? A cry demanding with all her heart and soul that no matter what, nuclear weapons must not be used. There's much more that he says. I think I will just end with a little bit near the end. He says, furthermore, as the only nation to have suffered wartime atomic bombings, I request the government of Japan to sign and ratify the Treaty for Proliferation of Non-Nuclear Weapons and become a propellant force in the achievement of a world free of nuclear weapons. I express my heartfelt condolences to all those who lost their lives in the atomic bombings. Resolved to make Nagasaki be the last place to suffer an atomic bombing, I hereby declare that Nagasaki will continue to do the utmost to realize the abolition of nuclear weapons and everlasting world peace. As we work together with Hiroshima, Okinawa, and Fukushima to prevent radiation of contamination and expand our alliance with people around the world who are trying to help cultivate peace. Tamisha Tawi, Mayor of Nagasaki. All right, I hope that conveys a little bit of the sentiments that are going from the mayors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And I feel so glad that we're here standing up to say no to nuclear weapons, right? Exactly. Okay, well, I'm going to turn it over now to our guest. Next, no, you're going to Rosemary. Okay.
I would ask us now to take a minute of silence to remember the lives that were lost in the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Thank you. I would now like to invite Sister Mary Ellen Francoeur, Sister of Service and dedicated member of Pax Christi Toronto, to introduce our keynote speaker. Sister Mary Ellen.
Good evening, everyone. It is a privilege to introduce our keynote speaker this evening, Kasha Sequoia Slavner. As we in the organizing committee at HNDC discussed what our theme would be this year and who we might wish to invite as our main speaker, we decided that we wished the event to be intergenerational, and it seemed extremely important to combine the two great threats to life on the planet today: nuclear weapons and climate change. Kasha was the perfect person to respond to these priorities. Many of you may already be familiar with her as a young filmmaker who takes on truly important issues which will call forth much discussion and increased awareness, bringing a youth perspective to these issues. Her latest film project, 1.5 Degrees Apiece, which is still in progress, looks at the interconnection between nuclear weapons, climate change, and peace. Kasha is an award-winning Generation Z documentary filmmaker and founder of the Global Sunrise Project, a youth-centered positive impact storytelling hub. She began her filming career at a very young age. Her first film, which premiered, her first film, produced when she was 16 years of age, was called The Sunrise Storyteller, which premiered at the UN Commission on the Status of Women in 2017. It was screened at 61 juried film festivals internationally and won 31 awards, including the Ron Kovich Peace Prize. I think we could agree that that was an auspicious beginning for a young filmmaker. She has been a photographer, entrepreneur, social justice advocate, writer, and public speaker for over a decade. Kasha works to educate and empower youth civic engagement with film screenings, workshops, panels, exhibitions, and online campaigns. She is a young woman with a deep sense of mission and purpose to create a better world, a world of peace and healthy environment. And she brings a feminist approach to all of this. She has been a member of the Canadian Voice of Women for Peace for the last 12 years. Her list of achievements and awards is long, and I will mention a few which relate to the theme of this evening. She has been a 15-time UN Youth Delegate and was the inaugural recipient of the Kim Fook Youth Peace Prize. She received the Peace Catalyst International Rick Love Youth Innovators for Peace Award. received a Wonder Grant for Sustainability awarded by the Shawn Mendes Foundation, and has been a climate ambassador of the Global Youth Climate Network. She's been a member and delegate of TPNW, the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, youth aspect of it, and the IPPNW, which is the International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War, youth section, as well as World Beyond War's former youth co-chair. It is also worth noting that she received a first prize award with the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Foundation's Short Film Festival, Speak Truth to Power, for the demo of her new film, already mentioned, 1.5 Degrees of Peace. Most recently, she was selected as one of the 25 leaders for tomorrow with the UN Youth for Disarmament. After hearing all of this, you may wish to support Kasha's completion of her film, 1.5 Degrees of Peace. A very warm welcome, Kasha, and we look forward to hearing your words.
I can use this one here. Great. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mary Ellen, for the warm introduction. It is an honor to be here with you all today. Today, we commemorate 78 years since the horrific events of the atomic bombings over Hiroshima. And as we look back on history, we must hold profound respect for those who have survived and deep mourning for those who have lost their lives. As a young person myself, my origins come from the disarmament movement. I've observed for over a decade the stories we tell about nuclear weapons. History books are often detached from the very real and present threat of nuclear war. This day, from the perspective of a textbook, may be described as an event of the past. It may capture the facts and figures of lives lost. However, the scale of devastation is too large to encapsulate with words or statistics alone. Many hibakusha have had to relive the most traumatic moments of their lives through the telling and retelling of their own stories to make it clear that nuclear weapons should never be used again and must be abolished for good. It's our duty now that we ensure that their stories are not left behind to become solely facts or figures, but they are preserved for generations. I've been surrounded by elders in the movement who hold not too distant memories of times when drills were practiced in the event of a nuclear attack. But I've also grown up as part of a generation who has been disconnected from such a legacy, disconnected from the true understanding of the horrific consequences of using nuclear weapons. As a documentary filmmaker for almost a decade, using storytelling and activism has been the way that I've chosen to make my impact. When it came time to take on a new project, I began reflecting on the causes that were most critical to myself and my generation. The two distinct existential threats, the climate crisis and the possibility of nuclear weapons, the possibility of nuclear war were impossible to turn away from. Young people envision a better future, and we actively work towards it, even when confronted with the fears of a worsening environmental crisis, wars, unstable economic conditions, and the threat of nuclear weapons. We are searching for connection in an increasingly divided political landscape. When I engaged more with climate news or organizations, I noticed that there was a missing link. And that is how intrinsically connected climate change is to conflicts, militarization, and nuclear weapons. In policymaking spaces, these two issues are divided into separate areas. They're seen as this complex web that's too intricate to untangle. Often they remain siloed from one another. Globally, young people are experiencing the impacts of biodiversity loss, contaminated food and water systems, floods, droughts, wildfires, forced migration, environmental racism, and wars. Being inactive on climate change is akin to condoning and perpetuating violence against those most vulnerable, as witnessed with the rising sea levels in the Pacific, flooding in Pakistan, droughts in Somalia, to name a few. And while hundreds of thousands have experienced the bombings in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, thousands more have been impacted by the entire chain of the nuclear weapons system, from uranium mining and production in sub-Saharan Africa to testing in Kazakhstan and Bikini Atoll. These tests have left behind irreparable damage to the ecosystems as well. This is an entrenched system which condones and perpetuates violence against our planet, its entire population, and every living species. One of the most pressing questions that we as a movement face now is, how do we bridge the gaps between the two? How do we build that connection? And how do we get leaders to truly listen to the voices of those most impacted? These narratives from the front lines are the narratives that are missing from mainstream media. As a storyteller, I know that film can be a powerful tool to bridge divides, uplift underrepresented stories, and catalyze positive change. My newest documentary is a character-driven film following the unfolding stories of young people hard hit by the impacts of climate change, conflicts, and militarization. The film documents their journeys to create environmental justice and peace through political advocacy, social entrepreneurship, community building, and resistance efforts. It aims to show the links between these issues from a personal lens. At its core, this film is about finding connection to ourselves, humanity, and our precious planet. We're currently in a crisis of disconnection from the land, from each other, and from the consequences of our actions. We no longer live in harmony or reciprocity with our Earth or with each other. However, everything in our natural environment is intertwined with one another. When you impact one part of the ecosystem, there's an inevitable ripple effect. We can't solve the climate crisis in an equitable way without framing our solutions through the lens of reducing potential conflict and addressing the threat of nuclear weapons. In 2022, $82.9 billion was spent globally on nuclear weapons alone. And this is just a fraction of the 2.2 trillion spent on military expenditures. When economic greed for a few threatens humanity's ability to ensure all humans have access to clean air, water, safe communities, healthcare, bodily autonomy, the conditions which create peace are undermined. According to ICANN, the 9 nuclear-armed countries between them spend $156,000 in US currency per minute on nuclear weapons. If you count the minutes we've spent together, I can't do the math, but you can imagine it's exorbitant. That means 1 hour of nuclear weapon spending costs the same as operating and maintaining over 200 commercial windmills for a year. Imagine if we invested the money spent on nuclear weapons, these weapons of mass destruction, and directed it towards, for example, quality education, healthcare for all, climate mitigation and adaptation. What would our world look like then? As a storyteller, creating balanced narratives is key. Showing the challenges of young people in achieving climate justice, demilitarization, and disarmament is critical, but so is highlighting the joy and the community which exists within these movements. We have to show that if we're going to inspire other people to join us in our efforts. Issues of a systemic nature can often feel beyond our control. If we are to dream of challenging the way things are, we become paralyzed before we begin. And media such as film can disrupt the idea that we can't change the way that things are. It can shift our perspective to the way things can be. Often the scale of these issues can become far too overwhelming, and we may decide that we have to numb ourselves in order to cope. However, I've learned from the incredible young people I've interviewed that there is a better way. We cannot numb ourselves and idly wish a better world into existence. Young people are often asked what gives us hope in the face of these adversities. Sometimes it can feel a little bit empty to tune into that feeling of hope, because we're trying to break down systems, archaic systems that have caused centuries of trauma and centuries of inequality. We can't always hold a smile and pretend that things are okay. But the only way out of these feelings is through them. That means we may feel overwhelmed, confused, frustrated. Hope can sometimes feel fleeting. But my response, and the response that I've gained from all of those I've been in community with, is that we must find courage in the face of this adversity. Courage is feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Courage isn't found all alone. In my experience, it's a community which gives us the courage to continue. Community which sustains and supports us. Community which challenges us to remain resilient in the face of adversity. Community like the one gathered here today. We have a choice now about the stories that we tell and the stories that we write for the future. What will the history books say when we look back on a time of converging existential crises? Will we have taken it as an opportunity to change our fate as humanity? Peace is not just the absence of war or the absence of nuclear weapons. Those are conditions which create peace, of course. But it also looks like having respect for our planet and protecting it. Keeping our earth free from over-extraction, ensuring our waters are clean, our forests can thrive, our air is breathable. And we cannot have peace so long as weapons of mass murder continue to live on. To achieve climate justice, we urgently need to eliminate nuclear weapons. All 12,700 of them still in existence today. A Nanos research poll found that 74% of Canadians in 2021 supported the idea of signing on to the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. Most importantly, we must demand that our leaders put aside old ideas of what creates security and commit to signing on to the TPNW. We have petitions here today to urge Canada to do so. So before you leave, please make sure you sign if you haven't already. I'll leave you all with this one thought. It's something I've heard said maybe about the disarmament community, is that we're idealistic or unrealistic. Sometimes that word idealism can be carried with shame or critique, but to me, being idealistic is the bravest thing that we can do. To acknowledge the present inequalities that exist and dare to dream of a better future together by taking action now. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Kasha. Kasha has brought us the message that the voices and actions of youth are calling us to listen, to support, and follow youth like Kasha so they can teach us and show us and lead us into a better future. Thank you, Kasha. And now I would like to welcome, along with Granny Lizzie, the Raging Grannies to get us raging into action for peace.
Okay, check, check. This one's working. Okay, we are the Toronto Raging Grannies. We do all our own stunts. There are 3,500 Raging Grannies approximately in Canada and the US. But we especially want to thank Sarah Strick today, who's strong with the Toronto Raging Grannies. Love you, bless you, I didn't even see you. Okay, now we have to be in bed. Track.
Here you go.
Get closer together.
Partner chaos. Okay. Okay. So, for example, oh, we're just a gaggle of grannies, urging you up on your fannies. We're telling you boys, we're sick of your toys. We want no more your arms. Too many hands on the button. No time to argue or nothing. You can't have your say. They'll blow you away. We want no more nuclear bombs. So let's end the nuclear arms trade. With the UN's help, it's our crusade. Though it may pay some bills, it gives us the chills. We want no more nuclear bombs. We really mean it. No more nuclear bombs. Not even the small ones. No more nuclear bombs. Listen, Justin. No more nuclear bombs. Damn right. Never again is our cry. Fire in the sky. Hiroshima. Never again must we know that hellfire glow. Hiroshima, goodbye. And nevermore must we play with these lethal toys and say, boys will be boys. From destruction's return means we all would burn. Hiroshima, goodbye. We come with our song and sing for a peaceful tomorrow, remembering the past and the awful news.
blast. We light candles of hope and of sorrow. You show me your bomb and I'll show you my bomb, and we'll run the arms race together. The boys with their war toys are playing once again. Hiroshima may happen all over. There's no winner today in this game that we play. We're all of us losers together. Earth and her people are poisoned by the blast, and the radiation goes on forever. You show me your bomb and I'll show you my bomb, and we'll run the arms race together. The boys and their war toys are playing once again. Hiroshima may happen all over. Hiroshima, remember always the horror and pain, spreading destruction long and wide. Nuclear weapons for all forms of life. Nagasaki was next to be maimed. Stop all wars, save our souls, work for peace, say never again.
On your program on the last page. Last
Night I had the strangest dream I never dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. I dreamed I saw a mighty room all filled with women and men, and the paper they were signing said they'd never fight again. And when the paper was all signed and 1,000,000 copies made, they all joined hands and bowed their heads, and grateful prayers were prayed. And the people in the streets below were dancing round and round, and the swords and the guns and uniforms were scattered on the ground. Last night I had the strangest dream I never had before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war.
Thank you, Raging Grannies. We need to get raging.
Setsuko Thurlow was a 13-year-old schoolgirl when the United States dropped an atomic bomb on her city, Hiroshima. Today, she is a leading figure in the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons. Setsuko was instrumental in the creation of the landmark treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons, adopted in July 2017 with the support of 122 nations. She received the Nobel Peace Prize, along with Beatrice Fine, on behalf of ICAN, the International Campaign Against Nuclear Weapons. She received the Nobel Peace Prize in December 2017. Tonight, we welcome Setsuko's son, Andy Thurlow, who will bring a message from his mother. Welcome, Andy.
I'm honored to bring this message from my mother, which she wrote a few days ago in Hiroshima. My most sincere greetings to each and every one of you who are gathered together to commemorate the 78th anniversary of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. At this special time, when the danger of nuclear war is alarmingly increasing, it is important for us to make the vow again to those tens of thousands of innocent civilians whose lives were cut short by the indiscriminate tools of atrocity, that we would never, ever allow the catastrophe to happen again to anyone on this planet under any circumstance. This prayer embraces not only the victims of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but those currently suffering people of Ukraine in this illegal invasion by Russia, and in addition, the long-forgotten victims of over 2,000 nuclear tests by the nuclear-armed nations at the Marshall Islands, the indigenous people of Australia, USA, Kazakhstan, Kiribati, and others around the world. Since May, I have been a grateful recipient of excellent and loving care by the medical institution here in Hiroshima. The Japanese government's medical support program provides medical care to the Hiroshima and Nagasaki survivors who are living overseas in the West Coast cities in the US and Canada, Hawaii, and Brazil. I am pleased that my proposal to the Hiroshima Medical Association to extend this program to the inland cities of North America was well received by the president of the association. I am also advocating for a similar program to assist the victims of over 2,000 nuclear tests, as the new Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons proposes as one of the first actions to implement. My arrival here coincided with the opening of the G7 summit, May 19th to 21st, hosted by the Japanese government, bringing together 7 world leaders, including Justin Trudeau, and invited guests from the global south, such as India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and others. In addition, President Zelensky of Ukraine suddenly arrived. If you read the quote, Hiroshima Visions, issued at the end of the summit communique, which attempted to legitimize the role of nuclear deterrence for defense, you can understand the depth of outrage of the hibakusha and nuclear abolitionist citizens of the city. It is wrong It is wrong to link that message to a city where tens of thousands of innocent civilians were wiped out from the face of the earth by one stroke, vaporized, carbonized, and incinerated. Hibakusha believe that as long as nuclear weapons exist on Earth, there is no guarantee of security for humanity. For the official communique of the G7 summit, the name of Hiroshima was exploited and betrayed. President Zelensky's presence only contributed to strengthening the solidarity among the leaders to continue to support the brutal war in Ukraine with more arms and funds. Citizens groups are demanding that Hiroshima Mayor Matsui distance the city's position from that of the national government and guard the city's pacifist stance. A national poll in Japan indicates that the majority of people evaluate the summit as a failure in not producing any new concrete action plans toward nuclear disarmament. As August 6 draws near, people of the city are busy visiting graveyards of their loved ones who perished in the bombing, attending individual and collective memorial services, symposiums, concerts, webinars, and so on. I am looking forward to a number of special events this week, such as meeting the inspirational Archbishop Wester of Santa Fe, participating in a webinar sponsored by the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists to discuss Robert Oppenheimer of the Manhattan Project, a debate by all the political parties' representatives on nuclear policies of the Japanese government, and, of course, attending the official 78th commemorative ceremony, followed by addressing the World Conference against atomic and hydrogen bombs at the Hiroshima Prefectural Arena. You will be in my thoughts and prayers on August 6th. Most sincerely, Setsuko Thurlow.
Thank you, Andy, and thank you, Setsuko, for bringing that important message to keep us on the straight and narrow forward to abolishing nuclear weapons. I would now like to invite Sister Mary Ellen Francoeur to bring us our HNDC action pledge.
Well, I think after hearing the words from Setsuko, surely we're all ready to express our own action pledge for nuclear disarmament. If the G7 and other leaders of the world are not doing this, then it's really up to the citizens of the world. I really believe we all need to feel that we have the power and we must use our power. If you have a program, within the program you will find the HNDC Action Pledge, and perhaps you'd like to follow along with me, because at one point I'm going to be asking you to join in. Today, remembering the devastating atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, we recall the message on the cenotaph in the Peace Park in Hiroshima. Let all the souls here rest in peace, for we shall not repeat the evil. The world has lived under the shadow of nuclear weapons for 78 years now. And nuclear arsenals now hold enough weapons to destroy it many times over. Should another nuclear war ever be precipitated, deliberately or accidentally, it will cause untold human suffering and the destruction of Earth's biosphere and life as we know it. On this commemoration day, we say, no more Hiroshimas, no more Nagasaki's, never again on planet Earth. As we promise to those destroyed by the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. This is our pledge to ensure the continued existence of humankind and a future for our children free of the threat of nuclear annihilation. So if you will follow in your programs, please join in the short pledge that is written there. Today, with people around the world, we commit ourselves to cooperate with states, parliamentarians, and civil society in efforts to stigmatize, prohibit, and eliminate nuclear weapons for the sake of humanity and to prevent unthinkable horror before it is too late. And so we ask you to get involved in an action plan for nuclear disarmament. First of all, join the Hiroshima Nagasaki Day Coalition or like-minded organizations working to end nuclear weapons. Encourage friends and family to do likewise. And you can go to our website to find out about us. Secondly, learn more. Go to the website of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Go to the website of the UN Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. Look to the website of the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, or ICAN. And also look at the website of the Canadian Network to Abolish Nuclear Weapons. Thirdly, involve our elected officials. Encourage your municipality to do as 19 Canadian municipalities have done, and call on the Government of Canada to support the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. This is called the ICAN Cities Appeal. Fourthly, contact your Member of Parliament. Get to know who your Member of Parliament is and go and speak to them, write to them. Contact your MP to arrange a meeting. Ask them to send a note to the Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister, urging their support for the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. Write a letter to the Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Another way of acting, support compensation for victims of nuclear weapons. Support the victims of nuclear weapons use and testing at over 2,000 sites around the world. And lastly, no investments in nuclear weapons. Find out if your financial institutions are supporting the nuclear weapons industry, and let them know that you do not want such investment. So thank you, and let us all take the actions that we can to make a difference.
Just some brief closing remarks. Thank you, Sister Mary Ellen. We do have some lovely lanterns that were made by children who were campers at the Buddhist church camp. So we want to encourage you before we leave today to, Ron Korb will lead us with his music in the lantern ceremony. So we would like you, as we leave here today, to take a lantern. The students have, not yet, don't go yet. I'm just explaining it so you understand. There are students at the back, Justin and Lewis and Selena and Daniel. They will help you take a lantern, and we will go with Ron when he's playing his music over to the reflecting pool, the large reflecting pool under the arches in Nathan Phillips Square, and set the lanterns on the water as a commemoration for those who lost their lives. Now, just before we do that, we're going to enjoy Ron's music a bit more, but I also would like to make brief closing remarks. I would like to express our deep appreciation to all this evening's presenters for your strong, inspirational messages and for your unwavering commitment to the abolition of nuclear weapons. You have shown us what we can do. You have given us the tools to take action. To all participants who joined us today, thank you. Please enjoy Ron Korb's music once more as we conclude with the lantern ceremony commemorating those whose lives were lost, just as they are commemorated in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Ron.
Thank you so much, Rosemary. That was wonderful. So I wasn't sure if we're actually playing one more of my pieces before we start. Okay. Okay. So I'd like to play a piece called Europa, and I think this is another piece that I've never played for you before, and I hope it's fitting for the night. It was a wonderful event, I must say. And again, I just want to reiterate how wonderful it is to be here again in the Peace Garden. It didn't rain. It was very windy, but it did rain. So yeah, give a little bit of applause for the spirit. Can you hold this while yeah. Okay. Thank you. Hey, so I see they're passing out the lanterns, and Guy, I think you want your mic back. Oh, here, I'll give it to Rosemary. Thank you. So now I'm going to play the Japanese flute, and yeah, please get your lanterns, and we'll start making our way over to the reflecting pool. I'm just going to put my flute away. Yeah. Okay. 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 Oh, thank you. The wind's blowing this way, eh? Maybe I could lead the people out here? Yeah. The wind never works the way it's supposed to. Oh, that's not too bad. You can just put it in there. Put it in there. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much to everyone who joined us here on Zoom and was able to join in at the commemoration in Toronto virtually. It means a lot that you joined from wherever you are tonight. As you can see, the peace lanterns are being put in the reflecting pool. Unfortunately, it's very hard to live stream with the sound still working while on the go and walking around the pool, so I apologize for the last couple minutes of sort of mixed up sound. We will make a video recording of this ceremony available later, and you'll receive an email from the Hiroshima Nagasaki Day Coalition with that information. Again, thank you so much to everyone who joined in here virtually, and thank you for taking the time to commemorate this important anniversary. With that, I'm going to close out this Zoom for tonight, and I wish you all a pleasant evening.